Welcome back, sweet, lovely listener. Here we are again with a brand new guest for the first time on Oops, I Missed Church, Jacob. Jacob, how do you say your last name?
Boehne.
Boehne. Right
Yeah,
on.
little
I'm
curveball.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry for all the times in your life that people have said Boney.
I was waiting for you to give
Yeah,
it your best shot, you know?
I wanted to ask first because I
So
knew spelling
that's
can be deceptive.
that's a real pro because usually people just go for it and then I don't correct them anyway. So it just keeps on rolling from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, friends, Jacob and I have never met in person, but we do have mutual friends, and I believe we have a mutual belief system. And so that alone opens the door for loads of great conversation. And you are an artist and a teacher in Norwood, Kentucky, just across the river from Cincinnati, correct?
So Norwood, Ohio
Oh, it's in Ohio. Okay.
is in Ohio.
I was
Yes.
thinking it was Kentucky.
But I am born in Kentucky
Nice.
and I still claim Kentucky, which is across from Cincinnati.
Right.
Norwood is kind of its own little city within Cincinnati.
Okay.
You know, they kind of like I have a Cincinnati address, but I'm in Norwood.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And have you always been there?
No, my wife and I, we moved here maybe 4 years ago, something like that.
Oh, cool. Right
Yeah.
on. Where were you before then?
We were in Newport, Kentucky.
Okay.
Before that, right across the river. Then
That's what
we
I was
met
thinking.
in Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, awesome. I love
So
Kansas City.
Kansas City for a while. Yeah.
Paris of the Plains.
I like
Right on.
Kansas City. It was a nice spot.
It feels like a very underrated city to me, you know?
Yeah, we loved it. We thought the art scene was vibrant, the music was good,
Yeah,
the churches were good, you know. Whatever we were
exactly.
into was fine there, so, you
I
know.
lived there for like 3 months one time because I was helping with worship at a youth group,
Oh,
and I just stayed in hotels and on my like boss's couch for a while,
oh
but
nice.
it was cool. Awesome, man. Well, I love your artwork, Jacob, and I'd love to talk to you about that, but I'd also just love to get to know you a little more and hear your story. Your art has a very particular theme, it seems to me, and I'd love to kind of hear you explain that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to start with that, that's
Yeah,
fine.
man.
The theme, I mean it, you know, it goes back and forth. I think the theme right now is just a celebrate. I would call it a celebration,
Hmm.
celebration of life, celebration of goodness inside of people. That's kind of my theme. The angels, like I make mass amounts of angels. It's kind of like I make three angels, I make another Jesus, I make some angels,
Yeah.
throw in some random animals. That's about it, you know. But the angels, they take on different characteristics of people that I've met,
Hmm.
maybe someone that I admire. And then I like the angel because it's kind of a glorified, you know, people obviously relate angels to heaven,
Yeah.
to to holy, to pure, you know, but then I mix in a lot of things that aren't typical for angels. A lot of them, you know, heavily tattooed or
Yeah.
wear the like glitter, like the glammed out dresses and stuff like that. You know, a lot of makeup, a lot of big sunglasses, just things that I think are fun, things that I walk by somebody on the street and like that, they look awesome, you know. I need
Yeah.
that angel, you know. I think they need to see themselves in that light.
Hmm.
That's kind of the theme is, you know, it always foundation on Jesus, my relationship to Jesus, and then a celebration from there of all people and creation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's so sad how like uncommon it is for so many people that like are not wouldn't consider themselves Christian, and maybe they're like the association of celebration with Christianity has felt really lacking to me in a lot of ways because it seems like, I mean, anybody that is would consider themselves a Christian knows Christians that don't practice celebration, but like, I feel like that's what they should be known for, if the story of Christ is true, then like this life should be an absolute celebration
Definitely,
endlessly.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's a theme that I'm growing into, as I
Mm.
walk out my own faith, as I study. I love to study theology, kind of a
Yeah.
theology nerd, and that flows directly into the art. It's like if I'm reading a certain book or focused on something, it's gonna come out, in those pieces.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think that's true. I don't know why our celebratory nature has been so so pushed back, or people kind of think it's cliche or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been around that same kind of thing,
Of
like what does
course.
it mean to be really happy? What does it mean to be real, like I'm happy but I'm not bubbly.
Right.
I'm not always a bubbly character. My art is more bubbly and fun and whatever, like, than maybe I present myself anyway on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. But I think that's just the complexities of how you want to be,
Yeah. And just,
presented.
yeah.
Forever.
And being alone. I mean, because like, it makes me think of like the difference between joy and happiness, talking about celebration like that. And it's just a deeper thing, like, I feel there's this way you can live in sort of a constant state of celebration, but still understand the value of like being somber or
Mhm.
allowing yourself to grieve.
Sure. Yeah.
Man. Well, awesome, dude. I love it. I occasionally will mention the fruit of the week, and I mentioned it to you earlier that this week is goodness. And so I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on goodness, be it related to God and theology and things like that. And then in your own life, maybe something you've experienced that at first seemed awful, that you saw goodness come out of it, or like redemption. I like
Okay.
hearing redemption stories because I feel everybody has them. Um, but sometimes we forget to notice it.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I mean, goodness to me, when I was thinking about that, when you mentioned that, I mean, I directly went towards that. I do believe we have a good God. So that, to me,
Mhm.
that's a first piece. And then I believe in the inherent goodness of people. I know that's a debated
Right.
whatever piece in theology. I'm definitely on the side of we have an inherent goodness, and trying to call that goodness out, find that goodness in all people, whether that be, my friends, myself, family, my students that I work with every day. I just
Yeah.
make it a point to go in there and say, like, I know that we're good, that we're worth investing in each other, loving each other. I think finding a goodness in everything has been a big theme for me. That I think that's the redemption piece. I used to be a lot, I was very angry, definitely went through an anger, I mean, a long phase of just focused on, I like to say I focused on what I hated a lot more than I focused on what I loved. And so in art, that was a big redemptive piece for me, was that I used to paint and draw, whatever, just things that I disagreed with, things that I'm like, people need I need to point out, the disgusting nature of, of the
Mm.
world, I need to point out everything, which I still think there is a time and a place, of course, to point out things that we need to fix, we need to
Yeah.
call that out. But for me in this moment, my focus has become very much to paint what I love rather than what I hate. And
Mm.
I'm happy with that right now. I feel like that's where I need to be. It's helped me a lot in
Yeah.
my own, mental health, spiritual health, to be like, I'm not out here to call out people all day,
Mm.
find these different pieces and judgments. Like, I just want to celebrate each other. That's what I want to do right now.
Yeah.
What I think people need right now. So
Definitely. I think that's good. I feel like there's something to be said too about like the seasonal nature of art, maybe.
mm,
Like how at this particular point in your life, you're focusing more on that celebration and painting goodness and seeing the redemption in that. And then also, like, who's to say that a season won't come where things will get more heavy, or, like, I don't know what I'm saying necessarily. Just, it's cool for me to think of, even with like songwriting and just every art medium, there's so much variance that can happen just because of what's going on in the artist's life in particular.
Right.
And
right.
I just think that's cool to think about. When do you feel like that switch for you happened to where you stopped focusing on things that you hated and switched it to focusing more on love?
That was definitely a response to a change. I converted to the Orthodox Church. I don't know if you're familiar with Eastern Orthodoxy and
Yeah, just vaguely.
some of that. So, but I joined an Orthodox church and started to read a lot about their theology around inherent goodness, around that, everybody has been saved, but you're learning to walk out that salvation, that Jesus died for everyone, not us elect people, all these different pieces. And I think that opened up to me that I was just like, I I resonate with that. I think that it just helped me see people in a different light.
Hmm.
And then that kind of went into like, yeah, we need to focus on unifying, rather than dividing each other up over all these different things,
Yeah.
which is still of course I have certain things that I think are right or wrong, or, people I
Yes.
whatever, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I would rather point out those things in people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something I've found in my own like theological discovery in my own life, because I just being raised as a Christian in like the early 2000s and being born in the 90s and whatnot, it made it seem so exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to do this, you got to do this, and then you're good to go and you can count on heaven. And the hyper focus on the afterlife has seemed to rob Christianity of so much of its beauty, and like the wonder that we can bring heaven to earth now, today,
Sure.
like
Sure.
with our lives, rather than trying to convert everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems to like put such a limitation on the whole story, like the whole gospel. To say that Christ only came for a select few is so small sighted, or it's short sighted to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this person. I don't know who it was, but he said, you can never underestimate or overestimate God. Like
Mm.
whatever God's work was, the redemptive factor of salvation, we're not ever going to be like, we had a bigger picture for that.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. God's picture is way bigger and
Mm.
more inclusive and beautiful and powerful than we could ever even, muster up. So,
Yeah.
I rest. Yeah, I like what you said about our kind of focus on the afterlife. I definitely grew up in a very, everything will be good once we get
Yeah.
past this. That, we just need to make sure people get that prayer in case you die or whatever. And now I'm like, well, you know, we're here. Like the Trinity, we're wrapped up in it.
Mm.
Christ died for us. He said we're all in Him now. Like, He saved the cosmos or whatever. It's way bigger.
Yeah.
I would like to enjoy that fact now rather than waiting.
Yeah. Why do I have to wait till I'm dead?
Yeah, I don't. It didn't seem to be that he said that. I think there's a lot of promises for now,
Mm.
and and we're in it. I mean, I just think we're in it. We're
Yeah.
the heavens have collided.
Yeah.
Christ became a person, so here we are.
Yeah. And what better cause for celebration? Like, I think that's what's so beautiful about it is it seems so much more simple than we've tried to make it. You know, it's like this weird paradox of it's too complex for us to really fathom and understand, but it's simple enough because of how beautiful and like broad it is, you know, like the love of God. It's such a impossible thing to fully fathom, but we get glimpses of it, you know, and that's like something so beautiful about. I just love the idea of like each and every one of us being a living particle of God, like of the divine, you know, here to impact one another and be God to each other, not as like a way to be glorified in and of ourselves, but as a way to practice the laying down of ourselves for the other, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah, man. How long have you been a teacher?
About 7 years, I
Oh,
think.
cool.
Around 7 years, yeah. Yeah, and I
Awesome.
worked since was 17, all my jobs, those type of jobs outside of art, I've always worked with children in some capacity.
Mm.
I've been like a formal special education teacher for seven
Oh,
years.
cool.
But before that, I worked in daycares and like a foster and adoption mentoring group,
Wow.
ministry. So
That's awesome.
kind
Do
of
you,
that's been my focus, yeah, for a long time.
do you have any kids?
Two kids, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Right on. How old are they? If you don't mind me asking.
12, 12 and 5.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Man, I think I don't have any kids yet, but I've got 11 nieces and nephews.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and my family has just always been super into growing. And
Yeah.
so
That's
and we
great.
just like I think there is so much truth in what Jesus said about let the little children come to me, you know, and like what we can learn from the perspective of a child. Like, what are some things you feel like you've learned just from teaching kids or being around kids so often?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's definitely an endless,
Right.
you know, there's always something new, but I've been very struck by like the idea of dependence. I
Mm,
think in our culture we have this, we kind of have an obsession with independence.
right.
That we need to, teach our kids to separate from their family, like by the time they're in preschool, you're like, you got to be able to do this on your own and do that. And we're just all about like being able to grow up and do it on your own. And the thing that struck me this whole time is, no, we really need each other. And I don't think
Yeah.
there's something so wrong with being dependent
Mm,
on each other, and I just love, I love my kids. I love to be with it, just that way of caring for each other, looking out for each other, kind of investing your entire life into other humans. I think that's beautiful, I'm like,
yeah.
I don't think we need to be scared to give our whole life to somebody else,
Mm,
In marriage, the same way, I've been married for a while, and that's kind of the same thing that I've been learning is like, that's great, like, and that's how I feel about the Trinity. It always comes back, like we were saying, like the Trinity is a relationship, it's a three-person relationship of love and care for each other and agreement. And like, that is not an example of independence. That's like, we need this
yeah.
commingled all the way together. Like, that is what we were made into.
There's
So
a
I think sometimes it feels like we fight against it rather than be like, hey, it's okay. We
yeah,
need each other out here,
seriously. That's something that I've thought about a lot too, just the idea of dependence cuz I got paralyzed in 2013 and it was kind of like becoming a kid all over again, it sort of felt like. And because you just need help with everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been a beautiful experience for me because it's given me a better understanding of this need for one another that we all have. And I think that's such a, like the crucialness of connection and community and actually like giving of ourselves to the other, it ends up being so much more fulfilling, not because that's what we're seeking. Like if the intention is like, oh, I'm going to do this for them just so I can feel good, then it's like you're missing the point. But if
Right.
you're giving of yourself just for the joy of giving and laying yourself down for someone else, there really is like a deep satisfaction that comes from that, it seems. Or just like it almost feels like, oh yeah, this is what we were created for. Like it feels
Right.
like you're living into your true identity, I guess.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
Mm.
Community is, like you said, our mutual friends here in Norwood, we moved
Yeah.
to this neighborhood because of community aspect, a lot of meal sharing, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
getting together and gardening and hanging out and playing music together and all those things.
Yeah.
And so I've always been attracted to community living, to family life, having kids. I always wanted to be a dad, go and sit on the front porch with my grandma. Like I'm all definitely about having those connections, and I just see so much life in that and joy,
Yeah.
yeah, from those relationships.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool what we all like, just that we can all learn from each other, regardless of age or experience. Like, there's so much to be learned from children, and there's so much to be learned from those that are older than us and those that are the same age. And like, I just think it's really fascinating and beautiful, this like endless need we have for one another, you know?
Yeah.
And there's like this weird desire in us to resist that, it seems, you know? And it's like our false self trying to be like, you don't need anybody. But what a joke.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you seen that's a big piece for me, a humbling piece,
Mm.
is learning to to feel like you need somebody, but also I have a hard time saying I'm sorry. Definitely
Mm.
have a hard time admitting when I'm, in the wrong. Especially the sorry is my thing. I just don't like, my son will be like, you shouldn't have done it. If I say something to him or something, like he's at that age, 12 years old, he'll tell you like,
Yeah. It's calling you out.
hey, you were mad. Hey, I'm not sorry for anything. You brought it on yourself.
Yeah.
Later, I'm like, oh man, I'm back in that same circle. Just like it's hard out. It's hard to admit, like, okay,
Mm.
yeah, no, I shouldn't have done it. I'm trying to be sorry. I don't feel sorry yet.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
uh,
I want to feel sorry for that because I know it wasn't right. But
yeah.
you know,
Man, that's a constant struggle, it seems, for everybody to kind of like just adopt enough humility to realize I'm wrong, you know? Like, I can't imagine just never, like, I think I get tired of when people are like, because you meet some people sometimes that they really refuse to admit they're wrong ever. And they're kind of
yeah,
exhausting to be around because it's like, I'm messed up, man. Like,
right,
I don't, I like there, you will find relief when you realize like to admit your wrongdoing, or your capability of negativity and maliciousness, even, just the potential for maliciousness that we all have. And then the beauty of choice that we all get too.
right. Oh yeah, I think it's really liberating.
Yeah.
Just be like, yeah, I was wrong for that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on myself. Have grace with me, forgive me for that. That as a teacher, that goes a long way because we all know teachers. They're on an authority trip. They're out
Yeah.
here. You are gonna do as I say. Like that's kind of how our school system is set up a lot of times.
Right.
And when I go and tell my students I'm sorry and I should have given you more time to explain yourself, or
Mm.
whatever. You're just taking that time to enter that space with the student. Like, oh, I messed up. I assumed that you were doing this for that reason or whatever. I mean, and just stop and saying like, hey, I don't know what happened this morning. I don't know what's going on in your own life. Like, let's just have grace with each other.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack, try again. I mean that builds a lot of relationships with my students that they seem to respond to that because it's not the common response from a teacher or principal or whoever who stops and's like, you know what? Let's just forgive each other. I
Yeah.
was wrong on that, I make mistakes. And here we go, It's
Yeah, it
usually
gives you a
like,
good
oh,
starting
I'm
ground.
the one in charge and we're not.
Yeah.
So
And I
it's just
think
it's a weird environment.
that's cool to think about too, because like all the best teachers that anybody can remember are the ones that are humble enough to just get real, and be able to like admit that they have shortcomings as well, because anytime you have an authority figure that thinks they're above reproach or above messing up, you immediately don't want to respect them or listen to them. Because
Right,
it's like,
right.
I don't care what you have to say, you're delusional.
Right. It's rough. I mean, I've talked to other teachers where we try to remind each other, like, the students love that, right? Like, if
Mm.
you have that attitude, well, one, you're gonna crack anyway, and that's just gonna be the best day of their life when they make you cry or
Yeah.
make you run out of the, when they get you yelling so loud, you're losing your voice. Like, they love that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't give the student that kind of kind of joy. Like
That's
that's what they want out here. So I mean, I just come in telling them like, oh, I'm all over the place.
yeah.
And I don't think you're gonna get me yelling or crying. I'm just telling you like it's all good either way.
Yeah.
Like we can work with each other. We can be humble. We can, try to reason or whatever. We hear each other out. But yeah, if you come in with that hard line, like I'm always right and I have it all together, like good luck.
Yeah.
Because you don't, and you're gonna fall apart at some point.
Exactly.
And they're gonna try to make you fall apart
Yeah,
just
that's going to become
for the
their goal.
entertainment. Yep,
Yeah.
like that's solid entertainment. You get that teacher just frazzled. That's a good way to pass third bell or whatever. Like everybody,
Yeah.
come on,
It's just like a challenge then at that
right?
point.
Like, did you forget what it was like to be in school? Like, I would
Yeah.
have loved that moment. You're gonna give them that satisfaction.
Ugh.
Come on.
What were you like as a student, Jacob?
I was, well, let's say I always liked school for the social aspect. I was not a very academic student. I didn't perform well in certain, my grades plummeted, in high school. I
Yeah.
actually didn't finish high school,
Oh, cool.
which is a interesting piece for becoming a teacher, but
Yeah.
I got my GED after my junior year,
Nice.
and then I moved to Kansas City, which would have been my senior year in high school.
Oh, wow.
So I just was wanting to get out and
Mm.
explore, do something else. So when I turned 18, it was time to go
Yeah. Peace out.
somewhere. Yep.
Oh,
Which
that's
Kansas
cool.
City was a great landing spot. I mean, I went there and became a like intern at a church or
Mm.
at this ministry. So, you know,
Nice.
yeah.
Which, can I ask which ministry?
Yeah, I was at the International House of Prayer
Ah,
in,
heck yeah.
yeah.
I love IHOP.
So I went to IHOP, did Fire in the Night, the all
Nice.
night prayer internship,
Yeah.
midnight to 6. And that was cool because you live there, you pay the tuition,
Right.
you get food in an apartment. Like, so I was
And then,
fine. You had nothing to worry about for that 3 months. And so
right.
I loved that. And then I came back home, worked a little more, and then went back to Kansas City and went to the Call Institute with Lou
Oh,
Engle and
nice.
which was housed at the House of Prayer at that time. Lou was living there.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I've got lots of friends that have done IHOP internships. And I remember years and years ago when I was like 13, I went to their conference that they had
Oh yeah.
for the first time. And that was cool.
Yeah, those were good. Was it a one thing?
Yeah, one thing conference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. It's fun to think. I wonder how many people we have as mutual friends that we don't realize yet. Because Adam Talent, Mystified and Thankful. Have
I
you
did.
met him in person?
Never met him in person. No, we've
Me neither.
swapped art things and a lot of messages.
Yeah.
I find
He's
him to be an extremely encouraging person. So
Oh, absolutely, man. I've like I'm so thankful for that relationship because he's like a, I don't know, he feels like a personal priest almost, you know, like someone I
Yeah,
could reach out to and tell anything to, and I'd
yeah,
only be received with grace.
yeah. He seems. I've actually talked to other people who said that same thing about him,
Mm.
who live here in North. Some people. Do you know the band Soil in the Sun or Turtle Dove?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Alex and
Alex and
Ashley.
Ashley.
Heck
They
yeah.
said the same thing about Adam. I was like, yeah, I've been talking to that Adam guy, man. He's great, you know.
He-
Like I just feel like I'm just instantly connecting. Like what he's like, he was our pastor on the road. Like we were always looking at.
oh,
And I
that's
know
so
these
cool.
tattooers who hang out with him.
Yeah.
This guy Joe Nickley, who's from Cincinnati, and he's like tattooed at his church and stuff or something.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, I'm just like, wow, everybody, common consensus, like Adam, he's a beast,
Heck yeah.
He's out here just loving people. He's encouraging. So yeah, I want to meet him when the pandemic
Yeah.
settles or something this summer, maybe outdoor. We don't live far apart. He's in Indianapolis,
Right.
so we talked about taking a walk or
Yeah,
I would make the drive for sure.
definitely. I'm really hoping to make a trip up to Cincy soon because I want to see Matt and Lyric. And do you know the guys that were in Pomegranates at all? Have you hung with them at all?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
good friends with Isaac Karn,
Oh, awesome. I love Isaac.
and Jake Merritt. I see Jake and yeah, all those guys. Yeah.
Heck yeah. I'm like, I have so many fond memories of Pomegranates because we like played a show with them in high school in the Latchaw's basement when Matt and Lyric before they were even married,
Oh wow.
and we got to like open up for Pomegranates, and then they helped me record an album one time, like a few years back, and that was really really special and sweet to me. And they're just like, I'm just so thankful for all the Cincinnati folk that I've met, and then just this like beautiful family that seems to be ever expanding of like-minded lovers,
Yeah, that's awesome. No, if you definitely sounds like we have a ton of mutual friends because my wife is in a band, Knots. That's
Okay.
the Cincinnati band, and Isaac has helped her record, and
Oh,
they played
awesome.
on each other's stuff, and yeah, so we know all those folks really well, and especially my wife Adelia. She records with them and plays shows with everybody, and
That is so cool,
yeah.
man. I'm excited to get up there and see y'all and meet you in person
Oh yeah.
whenever I can, but I don't know. Um, awesome, man. Well, I'm curious, sort of, what do you feel? There's so many things we can talk about, and sometimes I have a hard time narrowing it down because I just like talking about everything. But what are some examples in your own life, maybe, that you feel the goodness of God has been revealed to you and made you more aware of your own goodness?
Hmm. That's interesting. That's the last piece is an interesting piece. That pushes you to to love yourself a little bit,
Mm,
which is usually. But I mean, the goodness. I'm into nature stuff. I'm
yeah.
definitely one of those people. I like things that are indescribable. I don't really care to articulate why certain things make me feel away. I'm very into like if like I feel like so many things are sacred. But
Mm,
the goodness, I sit outside all the time and just feel that breeze. I'm like,
yeah.
hey, if y'all not understanding why the breeze is so deep, so sacred, then I don't know how to help you. I'm just telling you that right now I'm feeling a serious peace out here.
Yeah.
I like to go down, and anytime I'm in a creek, I do like a dip in the water and do a cross myself holy water. I just feel like the goodness in nature definitely
Mm,
pops out to me. Like I said, in people, I always say I love nature, I love creation, and people are my favorite part. I love people. I just admire all the different personalities
yeah.
and the quirkiness of who we are, and just the ways that people do celebrate life, like parades and stuff. I love parades. I think they're hilarious. I love that day, like people just come out ready
Yeah.
to give it their all, you know. We have a parade in Cincinnati that's in Northside. It's kind of a big art community neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just the most eccentric. It's 4th of July parade, but they never have anything to do with 4th of July, you know. It's just people dancing, playing drum. So one year they pulled this big ramp and people were hitting the ramp on skateboards and stuff,
Oh,
just in
whoa.
the parade, tall bikes. It's just madness, you know. And I just love it. I just soak it up. Like that is goodness, you know.
Yeah, just like
We,
chaotic
we are
celebration.
just out here having fun, you know.
Mhm.
And that to me definitely hits right. So myself, I like to just remind myself that all those things that I enjoy, you know, for some reason, I feel like they just reflect God's goodness. I love tattoos.
Yeah.
I tattooed last summer at a shop for the first time. It was an awesome experience. But I get tattooed a bunch, and I feel like I'm into the I am a temple. I like to decorate my
Mm.
own temple and just put markings of things that I enjoy, things that I love. But my tattoos, I feel like they reflect what I think is good because I used to try to think of the deepest tattoo I could ever think of, you know. Every one of them had to be this like just so much symbolism
Mm.
that it would, I just was like, it's gotta be deep. I gotta have it like so whatever. And then now I'm like these goofy cartoons, the stuff like it feels just as sacred to me, you know.
Mm.
I'm just into the good time. I don't know.
Yeah.
In a weird, in a way that I just didn't appreciate before. I didn't appreciate just like having fun and whatever.
There's like a value to silliness, I feel, in the kingdom of heaven, you know? Like, and I think it's good to be reverent and understand the need for like quiet reverence,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but I feel like it's a double-edged sword kind of where as much quiet reverence as you have, you should have silly celebration in equal amounts, you know? Because it's like there's such a liberation that comes with the whole story of it. And it it makes the reverence more special, I feel, because it's like I'm reverent and thinking about this sanctity because of how much it allows me to celebrate. Like it opens the door for so much celebration, realizing like what a wonder and gift it all is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the church I go to, it is like a liturgical
Hmm.
church, and I try my best, to practice different prayer rites, and saying prayers and having times of contemplation. I love reading, and we do, like the Eucharist or the communion moment,
Yeah.
taking the body and blood. Like that is a very sacred, quiet
Mm-hmm.
moment, but it's also the most. I mean, we call it a celebration, like come to the table of celebration, but it's a very reverent, piece there. And I
Yeah.
definitely see the value in both of those, in those quiet moments or those. And I think, like we were saying, with family, I see that a lot. I have so much fun with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
We goof around and we play pranks on each other and we wrestle and all that. But I mean, we also share the most quiet, intimate moments. That's like when I'm just putting my kids to bed or something and, looking at them and tucking them in, like that is, in a moment I can't even describe, but it's a very different, but I feel like God is like that for sure,
Yeah.
like, and, like we said, when we go through trauma or certain things that hold us back from feeling that joy or that peace sometimes, like God is totally there to hold us
Mm.
and, quiet us in those moments. So,
Yeah. I like thinking about the idea of holiness and how, like, I think we've made it really lofty in some ways and robbed it of its practicality, sort of like you tucking your kids in at night is like a holy moment, kind of. just thinking about like the love of a father, and like that they came from you, you know, and not even that so much, but just that like I don't know how to explain it really. Because I have like a really special, dear relationship with my own dad and my mom, and there's this weird. I feel so incredibly grateful for that because of how much easier it's made it for me to understand the love of God, or get a better glimpse of the love of God, because of this love that I've received without doing anything except being born. Like,
Right.
all I had to do was come out of my mom, and it was endless love. And it's like so heartbreaking to me how many people don't have that. And it's such a hindrance to their acceptance of the reality of a loving divinity, you know?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, if it's a reflection, I mean, it was meant to be a reflection.
Hmm.
So if you experience a broken, relationship, or someone who wasn't a consistent, person in your life or loving, and then I mean, I know I've talked to a lot of people who my dad was, he was there, he was a loving father, So when people talk to me about the love of God, I understood, like, okay, I could, of course my dad wasn't perfect, but I thought of, like, yeah, I remember those moments, like when I messed up, my dad was there for me.
Mhm.
He would definitely give his life for me. Like he loves me every day. But yeah, I understand. Like if you didn't have that, then you're like, well, I'm not. I need to figure that out because I'm not seeing. I didn't have that reflection in
Yeah.
my family life or whatever. But I think God, the consistent love. That's such a big piece, that to know that God never gives up on us.
Mm.
And that it's a long process,
Right.
but God is always there for us,
Yeah.
in the different pieces of our journey.
Hmm. Even in the times where we think it would be impossible for a holy being to be, you know, because of like, I think each and every one of us has these moments in our life of like, oh, surely God wasn't there. That was the worst thing I've ever done. Or like, but it's like, no, God was there. Absolutely. And it's such a cool revelation to have. And just like, there's so much freedom in it to realize, even in your most broken and dirty moments, the love of God was there as itself, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Not scared of us, I wouldn't say, or or
Yeah.
needing to be separated from us. God is always there with us.
Mm.
Um,
Who are some teachers that you have, or that like maybe some writers or preachers, or like some folks that you've drawn a lot of your own perspective from?
I'll see. Well, I do read a lot of old, like desert fathers and
Mm.
mothers type things, like Saint Athanasius and Saint
Yeah.
Vital and all those people. I like to read stories of saint lives. Like I just read about Saint Mary of Egypt, the
Mm.
winter, a lot of things. But currently, I like this guy Bishop Clistos Ware. He's an Orthodox theologian.
Mm.
I read John Crowder books. I've always liked
Yeah.
that guy. Um, my own priest. He's great. I landed an amazing parish. So I
Oh,
love
that's
being
awesome.
around, yeah, I feel like I hear a good homily, a good sermon at church each week. So
That's so cool. I've I've been talking to a lot more Catholics recently, and it's so interesting because I grew up very non-denominational, you know,
yeah,
and I really appreciate that. But I love that as I'm growing up more and more, I'm seeing so much more of the value in the traditional aspect of Christianity in particular, and like the value of like liturgy and these things that as a kid I would think like, what are we doing? You know, or why are we singing this, or why are we all saying this at the same time? But
Right.
now as an adult, I see this like oneness to it, and this like the beauty of unity and universal aspect, you know, that
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I became way more attracted to that style of things as I got older. But I always liked rituals. I always was kind of, I don't know, like I always, in movies and things, when I'd see like rituals of any kind, I just
Mhm.
liked them. I liked those like very sacred ritual type. The thing I think of is in Indiana Jones. You remember, did you
Uh-huh.
watch Indiana
Yeah.
Jones movies? And
Excellent.
that ritual was out of control. I don't even know what's happening, but the guy was, I think there was a sacrifice happening, a human
The
sacrifice,
Temple of Doom.
all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, all I was fixated on was like the ritual and these sacred moment. Like these people are tapping into something sacred. I need to tap into that. And
Mm.
I've always been attracted to all kinds of different, anyone who was looking for that deeper side of life, spiritual, nature. Like I just soaked all that up. And when I was growing up, I would take any of it, the good, the evil, the bad. Like if people said like you shouldn't, be interested in that because they've tapped into like some demonic stuff or something.
Mm.
I'm like, I don't want to tap into some demonic stuff, but I'm just curious as to what they're
Yeah.
encountering. I need to know. Like, I need to hear that story because they're encountering something that is going on outside of our, you know, experience right now. Like I just craved that, and so now
Mm.
I really love that about my faith, and the church that I go to is very much into like the mysteries of God. We have the sacraments,
Mm-hmm.
the rituals, and there's a very, very reverent piece there that's like, and you do it this way, and we do it together, and we do the chants and all those things. And I know to outsiders it seems weird.
Right.
Like it's cult looking and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not unaware of that. But
Yeah.
I like rituals. I like I even like, it's funny, I always tell my wife, like, if it ever comes my way, maybe I will be a priest. Maybe because I just want that outfit, you know? Like I love stuff like that. I love outward appearance. I love like, dressing the part,
Yeah.
being the like I don't have a problem with it. People are like, we want everybody to look like people, we want a pastor that looks like us. I'm like, okay, but
I see
that
the
guy over
value.
there who's got the outfit and he's a holy person, or this nun, like she's great.
Yeah.
Like I like that we're out here. We know exactly who she is. If we
Mm.
need prayer, or what she's up to.
Yeah.
She's out there. She's praying. I don't know. I've always been attracted to that. I find that interesting that so many people are like, we just want everything to be like we want church and spiritual life and everything to be like all the other experiences we have in life. I'm like,
Mm.
I mean, I don't really. I don't
Yeah.
want my church to feel like, a baseball game or something. Like, I like that it's a whole different experience. You go
Yeah.
in there, like, get your mind right because
Mm.
our focus is on praying, our focus is on praising God. Like, and I like in the liturgy, we don't talk about current events, you don't talk about jokes and statistics and
Mm.
references to pop culture. Like none of that is in there. It's like it does
Yeah.
not fit in this 2 hour segment of your life. Like just focus on this.
Yeah. It's like a setting apart, and
Yeah.
it's it's I was it's so cool. It's interesting to think about like the different churches that there are, you know, and I think there's an aspect of humility that can be argued for with the ritualistic ideas, because it's like you laying down whatever you want, you know, because there's so many of these big churches that are like catering to what they think all these non-believers want, You know,
Right.
like they have to make sure they're entertained. They have to make sure the sermon fits in this exact time frame, and they have to touch all these points that are going to make them laugh and, you know, make pop culture references and things like that. And there's like a humility that comes with the ritualistic aspect, because you're sacrificing this endless need of our attention being distracted, you know, because we live in such like a fast-paced world now where everything is like,
Yeah.
I want it and I want it now, and I want to be entertained constantly. And what a cool practice of humility to allow yourself to like stop being entertained and stop even thinking about yourself. Like get so caught up in this ritual that now your focus is wholly devoted to the divine. And
Right.
I think there's so much value in that.
Yeah, it's hard to quiet ourselves, you know.
Mm,
And we have so many things to distract us,
yeah.
and they have their, you know, they're cool or entertaining and things. And but with Lent, we do a Lent, of course, in the Orthodox Church too. And one of the things I was trying to do is stay off of social media and read a book instead,
Heck yeah.
and just getting back to that practice, because that's what I used to do, you know, before I had a smartphone, which wasn't that long ago.
Right.
You know, I was always reading books. Like I had this, I'd take it to appointments with me, or like I'm at the mechanic, I'm waiting, I'm reading a book, you know.
Mm.
I just lost all of that in a mix of like, first my excuse was, you know, like I'm selling art, you know. Got my
Right.
Instagram's got to be really good because it's my business, you know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like how many times am I actually responding to art messages, or you know, the post takes like 5 minutes, but I'm just endlessly scrolling because
Yeah.
that's what I did. That just became my routine, you know. When I got a minute at work, I'm just like, you know,
Exactly.
like what am I doing? I could be, you know, reading a book. I could just be sitting in the sunshine,
Yeah.
soaking up the goodness of the day. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm just staring at this screen, looking at everybody's nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, you know. And I like Instagram because I love pictures. I love seeing people.
Yeah.
What made me like it is like, this is cool. I like pictures. I like art. So I'm just kind of flipping through really cool art over and over again.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you know, you get lost in it, and it's nice to step away, like we said, and you know, refocus yourself, say a prayer, or
Mm-hmm.
just be quiet.
Yeah.
Let, you know, don't take in all the static all the time.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. I I think it's really interesting to think about the evolution of Instagram in particular, because I remember when I first came out and I thought it was like the coolest social media app that ever existed because it felt so much more simplified. And it's
mm-hmm.
like, oh, I'm just seeing cool pictures and different things. And then when the business aspect got brought into it, and all these algorithms and like making sure that people are saving your posts and not just liking them, and comments and all this stuff. And it's
Yeah,
like, I hate caring about that. Like, I don't want to dedicate the time and energy necessary to like having a successful Instagram business or following, you know? Like
right.
it just, it wears me out kind of, because but then at the same time, like I'll find myself just endlessly scrolling, and it's like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
why am I just
Yeah.
melting my brain like this?
Yeah, it's a strange, it's a catch, you know, but it is cool, you know. I do like, and I've made connections on there. Like that's where I met Adam or whatever. Talked to
Yeah.
him on Instagram. All kinds of people. I like to message folks like in bands and stuff. I'll message like, hey, that was a really good song, you know. Love the new
Yeah.
album. I don't know if they'll ever read it or care. Some of the bands are small enough, of course they're gonna read it.
Yeah.
Some of the bands are big, and I'm just throwing it out there. But some it's just somebody like me hanging out, and you know, they're actually the lead singer of the band, not like some agent or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, I like those pieces to it, and there's definitely been some edifying parts, and I do sell art,
Totally.
like in the art aspect, you know, I sell tons of stuff on Instagram.
Oh, I'm
It's
sure.
like my main way
Yeah.
of making money off the art. You know, I do shows and festivals and stuff, but day to day, like I usually make an angel sell an angel, and I'm like, well, I'm not trading that in. It's great.
Yeah. No, that's like all social media to me. I feel there's such a balance of like, this has potential to be awful and draining, but as much potential it has for that, it has equal potential for goodness and like relationships. Cause I love, like, that's how I met Adam too, was through Instagram. And that's how I met you, you know? And I think it's it's just, it's like humans. Like we've got this potential for awfulness and goodness all tied up in one.
Right.
But man,
Yeah, I think the discipline, we don't like to discipline ourselves very
mm,
often or put boundaries on ourselves, but I mean that's what it takes. You'll get lost in anything if you don't have boundaries.
yeah,
You don't have the discipline to be like, it's time to it's time to stop. It's time to get off of there and move on. And I've been trying to figure out ways to make myself do that.
mm,
Set different limits or like with the thing of trying to read a book and at work instead of being on Instagram on breaks. Like, I think that's really good to reflect on your own life, try to find that that growth moment,
yeah.
that progress, like, yeah.
Figure out your own way that works, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid to look at your life and dissect these things, and is it good or is it bad, or what's the good part and what's the negative part, and just working that all out, putting that time in,
Yeah.
like, is so important.
Absolutely. Man. Well, we've been talking for, I think, about an hour now, man. So I'm going to take a quick break and then we'll come back and talk some more if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We've got more great conversation coming right up. Awesome, dude. You're doing great. You're a natural.
Oh, okay, we're on break now.
Yeah, I just, because then I'll edit it and send it to a song or something.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any song recommendations you'd like to have played on a small radio station in Iowa?
Oh, I mean, if I plug my own wife, of course,
Heck
if
yeah.
that's fun. But other than that, we got all those mutual friends. So if you want to
Yeah.
shout out to
Play
one of the
some
people, but
pomegranates and turtle doves and knots.
yeah, not.
That's your wife's band?
Yeah,
Awesome. I'm gonna do it. Right on.
yeah, Knots is good. She's she's got a lot of good songs to pick from.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna count us back real quick and then we'll talk again. So
Sure.
1, 2, 3. Oh, welcome back, sweet, lovely listener. Here we are again with Jacob Boehne,
That's right.
artist and mystic. Would you consider yourself a mystic, Jacob?
I would,
Yeah,
I would. I think it's an interesting term, but
me too.
because I am definitely into finding the sacred side of things, the mysteries, life, I would call that a mystic. Um, yeah, I think that's funny actually. Somebody asked me to go to coffee one time. I said, yeah, sure, I'll meet up with you. I knew the person. We'd hung out a bunch of times,
Yeah.
but it had been like years. And he was like, I need to take you out to coffee because you hashtagged mystic and I'm interested in what that means.
Oh, wow.
And that was pretty funny because I didn't know exactly what does mystic mean. I definitely consider myself to be, of that leaning, or that is my main interests in life,
Mm,
I think, are mystical in nature.
yeah.
Yeah, it was just funny because I was like, "Oh, you want to go to coffee and hear me fumble around and try to explain what mystic means to me?"
Yeah.
That's cool. People got called mystics all throughout history. I don't know exactly why, for each person, but you know,
Yeah. It seems like a mystic is someone that realizes or maybe accepts the reality of life in the unseen realm, you know? Like this, because to me, it feels like this unavoidable truth,
Mm.
that there is so much more to life than what I can see. And it's like what you were talking about with like the breeze and just nature alone. Like I think about sitting in the sunlight and feeling the warmth of the sun. And I like to just like close my eyes and just imagine and contemplate the idea of like this warmth that I feel from the sun scientifically can be explained as this giant ball of gas burning and perfectly distanced away, heating this ball of water and dirt floating through space. But I like to imagine it's like the smile of God, and like the warmth that you can feel from the sun is like
Right.
really the warmth of this love that's like all encompassing and
Oh,
overwhelming.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a funny conversation I have with my kids actually, and as they get into school and learning science and different things, and I'm like, I love science. I think science is great, observable facts,
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. Theories, awesome. But I'm like, but you'll never scratch, like it's just scratching the surface. You'll never get further in because this is not observable. And that's okay. It doesn't make it any
Yeah.
lesser. It doesn't make it not true. It just is another aspect that, what you're learning in school, like they're not going to talk about that. That's okay.
Yeah.
They don't need to talk about that, You go to public school, like they're not here to dive into all that. I'm
Right.
telling you, like it's beautiful to know science behind the grass. It's also beautiful to just lay in the grass and feel a connectedness to the soil, to the earth, because we all have the same energy coursing through us.
Mm.
And like I like Taoism. I read different Taoist books. I didn't mention it in my list of books things, but I like the Tao Te Ching and Taoist philosophy, all about, all having this one energy, this one
Mm.
thing that's guiding us, that's in all things, animating all living things. And I found it, and I read this book called Christ, the Eternal Tao,
Mm.
and it talked about all these things like Lao Tzu, when he wrote the Tao Te Ching, he even mentioned a three-person personal divinity in all things.
Wow.
So that was like the start of the book was like, even this guy, in ancient China, this philosopher, he, for whatever reason, by studying nature and being this mystic, was like, I think there's three persons.
Yeah.
I think there's three natures here
uh,
interacting together and also animating all of life. And
uh,
I was just like, it blew my mind, because I
yeah.
was like, wow. But I feel like when I'm in nature, I feel that same way, like I just, I cherish those moments with everything because I think God is the thing upholding all of creation.
Mm.
And if you connect with any of it, you're connecting with God.
Yeah. I love that. I I think it's just so beautiful to me, this like endless connectivity of everything and the energy and this just the bigness of it all. And I think there's something like talking about science and mysticism and kind of holding those two up next to each other. I feel like in order to appreciate the mystical realm, you have to allow yourself the freedom to not understand.
Yeah.
Like I think that we get so caught up in wanting to know the observable facts and all the theories and like specific realities to things that we miss out on the beauty of not understanding, and like
Yeah, definitely.
just the beauty of mystery.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, in all of my love for theology and philosophy and things, that I definitely rest in the fact that there are a lot of unanswerable things, and I like to not try to answer things for people.
Yeah.
If I don't know the answer, then I'll definitely tell you that. If I think I'm just, here's some thoughts I have. But I find it pretty interesting how many you know, like people who are in theology or different pastors and things, like they try to answer every single thing, you know.
Mm.
That's kind of a Western thought process, you know, to have an answer, to have a here's how it works,
Yeah, an explanation.
for explanation for all that. And I'm like, man, it's not working, you know. It's not making sense, you know. You can't,
Yeah.
it's okay if you can't answer that, you know. There's a lot of things about God that when I talk to people who aren't believers or something, they're like, answer this. I'm like, I'm not answering that, you know.
Yeah, I don't
I
know
don't
how.
have, I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah,
What kind of question is that? Like
just hang out with me.
I don't know that. I'm just saying I have a feeling that this is right. Here's some experiences I've had.
Hmm.
You know, we can pray together, but no, I'm not gonna act like I have an answer to like half of these questions, you know.
Yeah.
But there was a time I would try, you know.
Yeah.
I would have gave some wild best shot answer to every single question. And
And
I'm
try
like,
to argue it.
those weren't working. That didn't
Yeah.
make sense. So
Yeah.
I love the mystery, you know.
Mm.
It's like it's
Yeah.
okay. We don't know.
Yeah, there's like a peace that comes with it, of like just being okay with not knowing the answer.
Yeah.
And not I think that some people can hear that and think like, well, you're just being lazy to not try and figure this out. But it's like maybe you're working too hard or like forgetting the beauty of rest and realizing like I don't need to fully understand this,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
Man.
Yeah. I admire people who dig, and
Oh yeah.
I got friends who they're whatever their thing is, they're gonna read everything about it. They can explain it and articulate these different theories and stuff, and I can enjoy that. And I'm like, yeah, tell me all about it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's still some pieces there that's like that was your best theory built off of all these other things. And I think that's good. You know, if that makes you feel edified, learn from all that, like, God, that's cool. But it's also all right to be like, but somebody over here's got a different idea that they
Yeah.
also dug for their entire life. And I'm just saying it's okay that I don't know which one of you is right. But I admire you for putting in that kind of work and
Yeah.
contemplation and, philosophizing for endless hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a beautiful thing. People want to know the truth, you know?
Yeah, that's like what it comes down to. It seems like is like this hunger for truth that we all have,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it's just easier for some of us to accept the truth without like super in-depth explanation. But I guess that I think part of that too is like I feel like I've come to know the truth as this thing that I'm endlessly learning more about. Like I'll like it's not that I'm not understanding it, it's that the understanding never ends, kind of. Where it's like there is always more to understand and fathom and experience.
Right. No,
But
I think yeah, that the experiences and just yeah, learning as you go. I mean, I'm into definitely just exploring as I'm going, you know.
hmm,
I'm not always trying to figure out the answers to everything, but if I resonate with something, you know, and that changes over time. But I
yeah,
love to entertain different ideas and ideologies and I can read all about things endlessly.
yeah,
I just don't bank on it. I'm not fully like, but this is the absolute piece here. Like I'm okay with hearing other people's
oh yeah,
their I know that like some of my it's just based off your interest sometimes as
mm-hmm.
I like to read about primitivism, like anarchist primitivist stuff and like pre-industrialization and all this. And I'm in it, I love it. I like to read about it. The idea of what if we went back to a time without technology, you know,
Yeah,
the people who are like, well, I want to go back even before civilization, like all hunter gatherer, and I could read these people's theories and ideas, and I think it's cool. And I'm like, yeah, living in the woods
Yeah.
without all these distractions, like that's awesome, relying on nature.
Mm.
But then, I'm not fully convinced that's what we should be trying to do. Sorry, my cat just knocking
Oh,
stuff over out here.
no worries.
But, yeah, and just not that same way that I'm like, and so now I'm on this trajectory to destroy technology and
Yeah.
actively bring down civilization, as some people are.
Yeah.
But I like to read the books and the articles.
Yeah, it's still interesting, right?
It's interesting.
Mm, I love it. I love that each and every one of us has our own things that catch our eyes or catch our interest. And it's like I just love the uniqueness of each individual person, you know, and how much we can all sense authenticity, and like as much as we can sense authenticity, we can usually see through inauthenticity, or like see when someone seems to be faking or not being genuine. And
Yeah. Mhm.
I feel like that's a sad reality with all the social media and stuff, and like this upcoming generation that is the first generation that was like born into this supercomputer in their pocket, you know? Because it's interesting to be alive before the smartphone and all this technology existed. Even though I was just a little kid, still, I'm still really young, you know? But
Right.
like to see the difference kind of, and the comparison culture that it creates, and how much it's making people seem less aware of their true identity, or like more difficult for them to accept themselves, kind of.
Yeah, it is way. I mean, the way that people view their value in that, even with followers and stuff, I'm fascinated by that because I try to remember, if you have like 300 followers or something, and Instagram, that's like nothing, like what are you doing? You got 300 people on there,
Yeah,
It's like 300 people like your stuff. Like,
that's
man,
amazing.
before that, you had two people who liked your stuff,
Yeah.
You got two fans. Like, I was good with a couple of friends who were like, that's a good looking drawing.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's enough for me. But now you need thousands of people to affirm that
Mm,
that's a cool drawing. Like, come on, what if your neighbor likes your drawings, your
that's
granny
enough.
likes your drawings, like, you're all right.
Yeah.
All right. You got enough fans. Like, it's weird to me, how you just crave more and more. I'm like, your reach is already huge. We didn't have that.
Mm,
People didn't have that and or need that. And I try to remember that. Like, I
yeah.
don't need that. It's cool if you like it. I like to sell stuff for whatever, for those reasons. I like to sell things. I like people to know about it because
Hmm.
I think my message is important. I do stand behind, like, I have something to offer. I believe that. And I want people to see it. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not worried about if thousands of people, admire it, because the people who care about me, the people that I care about, it's pretty slim,
Mm.
and they're supportive, and I like to give art away. I do a lot of swapping stuff. I do a lot of when I do art, when I sell art, I sell it for whatever you want, as we went through a couple
Yeah.
times.
I've I
And
love
I've sold
truth
huge paintings for, like, one time I sold this huge painting. One person came through, I think they gave me like $400, for this one.
Hmm.
And this next person came through, and there was the same size painting. They're almost like two in a series. This person gave me $15, and
Wow.
somebody was like, "What the heck did you just do?" And isn't the $400 person going to be offended? I'm like,
Mm.
"Hey, I don't know," but the point was, I told him you could pay whatever you want for it, and she had $400 and he had 15.
Yeah.
And, there you go. I'm not thinking too far into it.
Mm.
Like it's whatever, you know. And I'm not gonna ask them their story as to like, couldn't you have spent more, or did
Right.
you break the bank on that? Because you didn't need to do that, you know. Just like I just leave it up to whatever they feel like they can do. I'm cool with it, and it's actually balanced out most of the time.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll sell stuff for crazy cheap or give it away, and then the next turn somebody will pay me way more than I
Mm.
would have tagged it for, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's working for me, and I
Yeah.
don't like to outprice anyone for sure. That's a big piece for me. Is I want everybody to have it. It's for my community, even if my community expands into people I don't know in real life, it's still my community, and I'm
Yeah.
happy for them to get a hold of something. You know, some original art, like not everybody gets to have original art, you know?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think it's so like sweet to be able to talk to you because I feel like you've just got a wildly generous spirit to you, and you're like, just to hear you talk about that alone, because I think like the art world is so interesting with how much money gets involved with it. And like, I don't know, it seems like some things are unnecessarily overpriced where they are like, and I get it because it's a valuable object and things like value increases and stuff. But to hear you talk about it, and it reminds me of my artist friend here named Will, where he's always giving paintings away and like saying, just pay what you can. And I think that that is such a humble and good way to be, just because it's like you are exuding the generosity of heaven, even where
Mm-hmm.
it's like God's not making us pay for our salvation necessarily, other than realizing we need help and
Right.
the surrendering that is a payment, I guess, But like with your art and the things that you create, to have like a loose grip on it, and not this lofty ownership, I think it speaks so loudly of just like the love of God inside of you pouring out through your own creations. And then in like how beautiful and wonderful it is that every person that sees your art is getting to experience that generosity. And then everybody that gets to interact with you purchasing your art or receiving it as a free gift from you, they're getting to experience like the goodness of God, and the kindness of heaven and Christ within you living as another creator. Like I
Right.
think there's something so beautiful about creativity and the uniqueness to humanity that it is. Like we're the only species that has endless artwork and symphonies of music. I guess birds have music, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but
No, it's true. I mean that to me is really important, and I respect all my art friends who are on the grind, and
oh
it's
yeah,
their career, and like I bought art for higher prices. I support all my friends who are like, hey, I need to sell this for this
mm-hmm,
much because I got kids, I got a payment on a house,
totally.
and I've set myself up to where that, I have my career job or whatever. I work as a teacher, I can pay my bills from that. If I wasn't doing that, I mean, I'm sure I'd be
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh no, you got to pay me this because
totally.
I got a car to pay, I got to get gas, like, and I'm not in that situation with my art, and I purposefully set myself up
Mm,
to make art something else, and for me that's what it is. I feel like it's kind of, it's a ministry, it's my art, I sell it, but I'm also as much interested in making a statement about, like you said, the generosity of God, the love of God through that, and community. I
mm.
love to think, like, people forget. Well, recently I talked to someone who was a nurse or nursing student, and she emailed me and she just said, like, I just really don't want to offend you with giving you too little, for this painting. And I was like, you're a nursing student, for one, so let's just count your future taking care of everybody. as the payment. Like,
Mm.
don't forget that you already do something for me, you know? And I think so often we forget, like, we are all serving each other, you know? And
Mm.
if the payment for the painting is the fact that you're a nurse or a priest or a musician and you've provided me wonderful music that I probably streamed on YouTube for free way too many times anyway, then
Right.
that's the payment. Like, don't worry. You don't have
Yeah.
to pay me, you know? We're all out here doing a thing. I make paintings and you make music, you
Mm.
know, and you're a plumber and I appreciate my pipes being fixed. So take
Yeah.
a painting. Like, don't, we're not, you know, I'm not out here trying to divvy it all up in cash all the time.
Yeah.
We all help each other out.
Mm.
And so if my thing is making paintings and it makes you happy and you want it in your house, like, I'm not gonna, you know, put a barrier between that.
Yeah.
So, and, yeah, it's
Yeah.
worked out for me a lot of times. And I've made a lot of cool connections with people that way. So.
I think that's so cool. Man. Well, Jacob, I feel like we're out of time because I have to be careful about how much time I have, but I really cannot thank you enough for doing this with me, man. And I so appreciate your spirit and your heart and your art as well. I want everybody to buy it. So, and
And I appreciate you having me on. I was stoked.
yeah, man. Well, you're welcome again anytime, and I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see you in Cincinnati sometime. We'll get everybody together.
And let me know if you're in Texas ever.
I do like Texas.
Yeah.
Actually, what part of Texas are you from?
I'm in San Antonio right now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But I've only been here like 3 years.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, I know a punk band. I think Rise Above Church is was there, and this band Our Corpse Destroy was this old Christian punk band.
oh,
Not that
nice.
old, but some 10 or so years ago. But yeah, good stuff. A lot of punk music, I think, in Texas. That's great.
Yeah.
So,
Right on, dude.
oh yeah.
Well, heck yeah. Also, do you have any closing thoughts? I shouldn't rush off. You got any closing thoughts or words of encouragement for the lovely listeners of Oops, I Missed Church?
I mean, on the focus of goodness, I'd just say my closing message is, you know, find that goodness in yourself. Remember that everybody has good in them. Try to highlight it in each other. And let's all just, you know, try to celebrate everyone and everything.
Mm, hallelujah. Jacob, you're a legend. Thank you again, man.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Yes, peace like a river.
All righty. Bye bye.
See you, man.